Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
This is Season 1, Episode 14 of Hockey Talk on Wisp Sports. I'm Shannon Miller, and at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. I'm delighted to have a new sponsor, UGO, capital UGO, a company owned by two women, a product invented by these women, and let's hear more about it.
Have you ever thought you had the best protection for your phone only to find it failed? You go to the rescue, the only waterproof life jacket for your phone using a dry suit zipper closure. Your phone has full functionality while inside, and best of all, Yugo floats. Use promo code HockeyTalk and check us out at yugowear.com. That is UGOWEAR.com.
In today's episode, I will talk about penalty kill, an important piece of defensive team play. My guest this week is Nancy Hogshead-Makar. She's an Olympic champion, a civil rights lawyer, champion for equality, and she runs Champion Women. Today's sidebar will be about strong women. And this week's drill of the week will be a 3v2 back-checking drill and will be posted on my Facebook page at Coach Shannon Miller on Thursday. Thank you for joining me. I'm honored to have my own hockey podcast show on Wisp Sports and to be part of the most popular and influential podcast organization for women in sports globally. Today's podcast is titled Penalty Kill and Strong Women. Now today I'm going to talk about penalty kill, the most basic form of penalty kill in the defensive zone, and overplays on the entry. Once you get your own coaching philosophy and understand the talents of your teams, you can expand beyond this simple penalty kill that I'll share with you today. On penalty kill, you always want to try to deny the opponent's power play time and space. Time and space so that they can't get set up. Forcing on the entry is a great way to cause chaos for the power play and to create turnovers. But when the penalty kill's in the defensive zone already and the power play has control of the puck, you want to contain until it's smart to pressure. This allows the penalty kill time to get organized, and you can see how the power play wants to set up. Examples of containment and getting organized on PK. The power play may have the puck at the hash marks. Penalty kill can go into a tight box. They close up the middle, you protect the net front so the power play can't pass into the slot for a one-timer, and your penalty kill players are there to protect the front of the net to clear rebounds. Denying passing lanes down to the goal line, up to the D, and through the middle of the box with active sticks. Another example, if the puck is at the top, you have your penalty kill go into a passive diamond, a narrow diamond. Get your pads in the shooting lane, that's the most important thing. The net front defenseman fronts the two players at the net and denies the shot pass to either side. Now with a tight box and a narrow diamond, the power play can pass the puck around the outside and try to shoot, but if the penalty kill is disciplined and in position, shooting lanes will be blocked and you can deny passing lanes with your stick, looking to block shots and get a potential breakaway. Now when should penalty kill pressure? Pressure when the opponent is trying to enter the zone, okay, on the entry. Pressure when they dump the puck in or rim the puck into the zone. Pressure the power play when they have poor control. And pressure when they only have one passing option. So if they have poor support and only one passing option, see that, read that, and jump. And if there's a free puck and you're on penalty kill, go, go, go. Now PK players, avoid being picked or screened. Fight through, roll off. Have awareness. Penalty kill players should not allow themselves to get tied up with one player because they are outnumbered. The power play has a numerical superiority, and you don't want to get tied up with one player because you're going to have to rotate as the puck moves. When the power play shoots, penalty kill should collapse to the net front area, box out power play players, lift sticks, tie up sticks, and clear rebounds. If the penalty kill players get possession in the neutral zone or in the offensive zone and they cannot be a threat to score, control the puck, protect the puck, and just kill time. When possible, you can pass back to the defenseman, and they'll help kill time. And then they'll get the puck deep when it's necessary. But before you pass the puck back to the defenseman for them to help control the puck and kill off the clock, make sure the passing lane is there and there's no chance of a turnover. I want to talk a little bit about overplays, PK overplays. So on the entry, when the power play is trying to enter the zone, be aggressive at the blue line. Aggressive overplays on entry will help penalty kill immensely and not allow the power play to set up. An early overplay at the blue line. F1 forces the puck carrier into your defenseman, into D1. D1 steps up to force the dump or the chip, and F2 has the middle, and D2 simply goes back and retrieves the puck. An overplay versus a hard rim. D2 and F2 go to the puck immediately. D1 go also try to outnumber the power play, or at least create an equal number. D1 supports low, and then F1 simply takes the net front area, the slot area. So you've got 3 in the puck area and 1 net front. Use an overplay at the goal line as well to pressure the power play. D1 pressures at the goal line. D2 supports low for possession and pressure. F1 supports high on puck side, but will collapse down, and F2 has the slot. So those are great ways for penalty kill they're called PK overplays, and you're pressuring the power play on their offensive zone entry. And in the zone, you're pressuring in the defensive zone when you can, but if you need to get organized, just go into a narrow diamond or a tight box. Today's sidebar is about strong women. A strong woman won't let anyone get the best of her, but a woman of strength gives the best of her to everyone. A strong woman has faith that she is strong enough for the journey, but a woman of strength has faith that it is in the journey that she will become strong. My guest is a strong, successful woman, Nancy Hogshead-Makar. She's an Olympic champion, a civil rights lawyer, and she runs Champion Women. Champion Women addresses standard Title IX compliance, sexual harassment and sexual abuse, LGBT, employment and pregnancy discrimination. Nancy's been working on sexual abuse in the Olympic movement for 9 years now, but it's really heated up after Larry Nassar. Nancy, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here.
Oh, Shannon, it's my pleasure to be especially here with you.
Thank you. So Nancy, recently 2 major reports came out that were damning of the USOC board and the culture within the Olympic movement. Can you tell us about those?
Sure. So the first one that came out was by a law firm called Ropes and Gray, and the Ropes and Gray report was a couple hundred pages, and it really went through sort of who, what, where, when, why, how Larry Nassar was able to molest, we think it's in the thousands of girls over 25-year period. How was he able to do it? And then they didn't just look at who, what, where, when, why Larry Nassar. They also looked deeper into what is the culture within the Olympic movement that makes athletes so particularly susceptible to sexual abuse. And that was where they came down hard. I mean, they sort of, if you read any articles or anything in the media about the Ropes and Gray report, most of them focused on the fact that Scott Blackmun, the former CEO of the United States Olympic Committee, he lied to the investigators and told them, oh, yes, as soon as I heard that there was a problem at USA Gymnastics, I got all of our resources ready and available for USA Gymnastics to use. In fact, he didn't do anything. He didn't lift a finger. But what's worse than the fact that he lied is that what he did, which is nothing, is USOC standard board policy. That the USOC did not help athletes and did not address sexual abuse in the Olympic movement itself. It sort of gave advice, and it wrote model policies that national governing bodies would be like USA Swimming or USA Ice Hockey or USA Track and Field or whatnot. But so it may have helped the sports, but they were free to either use them or not use them. And saying that culture, that idea that they only represented the corporation, they didn't represent athletes, they didn't look out for the athlete's best interest, they really came down on them hard on that, which they should have. I mean, when you think about this is the sport organizing body testifying or saying repeatedly that they don't represent athletes, that's not what they're about. They're about making money and about making sure that the United States wins gold medals. But the individual, the person, nope, they don't. That was not what they were focused on.
I'd love to say that is so difficult to believe, but in this day and age and the times that we're living in, it's not. But good for you for fighting that fight and being so heavily involved. You've recently called for the near complete resignation of the USOC board and leadership. So what do you mean by that?
Sure. So we now have 120 Olympians and Paralympians who have signed on to our petition to have this near complete resignation of the board and the leadership. The reason why we say near complete as opposed to complete resolution is that, I do know there are some people on the board that fought against the current culture pretty hard and were really good to athletes. If they can show on their minutes or whatnot that they tried hard, but they just lost the battle. I mean, I've lost plenty of battles in my day. Then they're free to, stay on the board, but you got to show us some objective measurement. If you just went along with whatever Scott Blackman said, then that's a problem. The conventional thinking or wisdom that was repeated by the head of the board, Larry Probst. It was repeated by Scott Blackman constantly, and was repeated by the head of even the interim board of the United States Olympic Committee was, Congress hasn't authorized us to be able to help athletes. Congress hasn't authorized us to oversee or to discipline national governing bodies. Now, we, Team Integrity, that's what we call ourselves, the Committee to Restore Integrity to the United States Olympic Committee, when I talked about that 120 Olympians and Paralympians that have signed on to a statement, what we're talking about there is these are people who are saying that the USOC sort of took that mantra and kept repeating it over and over, and it was never true. So we, Team Integrity, wrote the legal memo that explained why that was never true. We said it's not true in the Sports Act, and it's not true by your own USOC bylaws. You, USOC, have every right and every power imaginable to be able to do anything that you want to these 50 different sports that are underneath you. You don't want to, but you absolutely have the power. This is just nonsense. So the good news is that as soon as we gave that legal memo to the USOC, they really did flip. They really were like, oh my gosh, we do have the authority. And so they have started doing more. But, the people who never questioned that premise, they need to leave. They need to not be involved in our Olympic movement that is all about athletes. It's just a major cultural change. I mean, I don't know. Do you see the same thing in hockey?
Certainly not to this extent, but there needed to be a cultural shift and change, and there has been because some women have come forward. As you know, USA Women's Hockey Team stepped forward with regards to equal pay. There's been some things that have happened in Canada, but certainly nothing at this level of this magnitude. But it's so important to change the culture, to hold people accountable, and to protect the athletes. So let's talk about protecting the athletes.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. Two things. Well, first, I just want to address the fact that the women's hockey team had to threaten to boycott in order to be able to bring USA Hockey to the table to get them to negotiate. look, gender equity should just be one of those foundational things. And that's one of the things that, along with how do you protect athletes, it's also how do you treat them equally. And so any kind of reforms that we have, that'll be part and parcel of whatever that is. Okay. So back to your question of, okay, how do you protect athletes? Okay. So think of it in two different ways. One is we just got a statute passed that we needed to have the same kind of legal protections for athletes that, say, students enjoy and employees enjoy, students under Title IX, employees under Title VII. So the statute has a very long name. It's called Protecting Young Athletes from Sexual Abuse and Safe Sport Authorization Act. I know it's quite the mouthful. And so the statute gives the Olympic Committee and all the national governing bodies the legal duty to protect athletes from physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. And that's big because, again, the position before then was, it's just not our job. We don't do that. So that was really necessary. It also makes everybody within the Olympic movement a mandatory reporter. They have to report to, authorities or police or FBI or family services, whatever. And then it extends a statute of limitations for lawsuits. And then it also authorizes this new United States Center for Safe Sport, kind of like how Congress authorized USADA and WADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency and the World Anti-Doping Agency. Right? How when Congress authorized it, it allows them to be able to give money. It allows them to be able to be the watchdog to make sure that it's sort of doing what it's supposed to be doing. So the U.S. Center for Safe Sport is kind of, if you think of it as, say, a business that has a good HR department or a school that has a good Title IX department. So they're the people that hear the complaints, that do the investigation, that hold a hearing if necessary, and who then mete out whatever discipline needs to be made out if necessary.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's what there's this new entity. They're in Denver. You can go on to safesport.org and find out all about them. You can contact my organization, Champion Women. We help people file complaints all the time. You want to go in with more than just your story. And you want to make it as easy as possible for the U.S. Center for Safe Sport. Anyway, so that's one way to protect them, to protect athletes. Another way is you think of the cultural ways that we protect children from abusive adults and the ways that we protect adults from adults who are in power over them. Now, I don't know, Shannon, how sport got out from under both of these normal cultural norms that we have. We protect children who are working with adults, like whether it's teachers or, we have normal boundaries that most kids understand, that they don't go over to their house and spend the night. They don't, they're not one-on-one with them. They always have the door open. They don't friend them on social media. They don't, what else? They don't accept presents from them, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, all of like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, YMCA, Special Olympics, Police Athletic League, they all, youth-serving organizations have protections for children that somehow sport doesn't adhere to. And so that absolutely needs to change. And then two is, when you think of the Me Too movement, you think of actresses that started it who were against Harvey Weinstein, right? So these are adults. And we have lots of ways that we protect adults from sexual harassment and sexual abuse and sexual violence. We have, if you have a license, like a law license or or a counseling license, or you're registered as a religious leader, or if you are a doctor or anything like that, those licensing agencies will yank the license if you have sex with a client or romance with a client. And somehow coaches got out from under that. There are statutes that protect prisoners, that protect people that live in public housing. Almost every situation where you can think of where there's a hierarchical relationship, we protect the person who is in the lesser power situation. And somehow sports didn't do that. So that coaches were really free to pick their romantic and sexual partner from within the athletes that they coached. I mean, don't you find that, Shannon?
Oh, absolutely. And there's no question that sport has been blind to that and excluded from those rules, the societal rules. And it's great that it's all being exposed by people like you, and all of this is coming to light.
Yeah. And what I hear that sort of defends it is people say, oh, but I know this really good marriage that came out of a coach-athlete relationship. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. And just because, you know, there are strong marriages that have come out of it. Let me give you the flip side of that is my coach. In 1984, my Olympic coach is now on the banned list. His name is Mitch Ivey. And Mitch Ivey was molesting one of my teammates. That's not how it was languaged to us. That's not how she languaged it. It was languaged as they were having a quote unquote relationship. She was underage. Oh, but that was just a technicality. And he did this over and over and over again. He married 3 of his swimmers. Married 4 of his swimmers. The first 3 did not equal 1 year. So he was using marriage as a way to validate sexual abuse that had been happening since they were, mid-teens.
Remarkable,
yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. And just the damage, I mean, as a coach, the damage that does to the entire team and what it does to the whole team dynamic. And, boy, oh boy, I could never have predicted how damaging it would be to everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really harmful to everybody. So,
R.B. Kelly, have you seen the documentary on R.B. Kelly so recently, or R. Kelly?
I have not seen the documentary, but I've read a lot about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw that the other night. So what you're talking about is fresh. And it's remarkable that so many people aided in that for years.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And they say, well, I wasn't the perpetrator. I wasn't the one sleeping with the underage girls, but they aided in it daily. I mean, it's unbelievable when you watch that, and it's unbelievable that he's not in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that he's almost illiterate, so he would have needed help to get the plane tickets to move a child from point A to point B, and, to sort of help with all of the logistics of how do you molest so many young girls. And, to not hold these people accountable is truly sad. Yeah. So, yeah. So same with I think that some people look at, I'll compare it to taking drugs, for performance enhancing drugs. Some people look at performance enhancing drugs as malum prohibitum. Malum prohibitum just means it's bad because I say it's bad. It's like no jaywalking, even if there's no traffic. Right? It's just sort of a rule that you have to abide by, right? It's people kind of roll their eyes, but it's not sort of an evil in itself, like say murder or something else. So some people think that performance enhancing drugs is just, some people, they just, but it's not an inherent evil. As an elite athlete, and I know you as dealing with all these elite athletes, I looked at it as malum in se, like how dare you corrupt the enterprise that I'm involved with. I'm literally giving my life and everything I have to be able to be in the Olympics. And for somebody to corrupt that process and to corrupt the integrity of what the gold medal means was highly, highly offensive. And so I think some people sexual abuse, well, particularly when it comes to underage sexual abuse, the gymnasts, when they're abused, they're just so tiny. They look like they're 9. But swimmers, yeah. But swimmers, when they're abused, a 15-year-old swimmer can be 6 feet tall. And so they look at it as like sort of malum prohibitum. Well, somebody came up with this age here that I'm supposed to abide by, but they don't really see it as an evil the way that rape really is. That's rape. And
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so even for adults to have to perform sexual acts in order to be able to say make the Olympic team. We know, I mean, since 2007, the IOC did great research showing that the more elite the athlete, the more likely they are to be abused from somebody within their own entourage. We know that. We know that it's a risk of harm. We know that, I've got a friend, her name is Eva Rodansky. She was a speed skater, and the head coach kept her off the team so that her rival would be on the Olympic team. So he did not want so even though like the target of the sexual abuse, right, is not complaining about it, right? She's making the Olympic team. She doesn't have to worry about her competitors, but you can just see the mischief and how it corrupts the integrity of the enterprise by not enforcing these very serious, important rules about the integrity of sport. And that's when you start seeing that this is really a human rights violation.
Oh, completely, 100%. So Nancy, you've mentioned some structural changes that need to occur, and some are occurring. What social norms need to change so that we can protect athletes?
Well, the social norms I was just talking about are, everybody needs to get behind and really understand this idea of, why it's bad to sexualize athletes. I know that in swimming, the elite coaches are mostly men, and apparently after a hard day of swimming, they frequently go to strip clubs. So.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So you can imagine, first of all, a woman trying to get into the profession, how hard it would be to create a camaraderie with your peers if that's where they're going after competition. Number 2 is, like all these bad comments sort of get to fester if you don't have a lot of women in leadership positions. There's no break, if you will, on sexualizing somebody's body. And, in my era, the good guy coaches did not have the final word. Were not the ones they looked down on it and they scoffed at it, but they didn't stop my coach. They didn't stop lots of other coaches. They didn't stop all the marriages that were happening, all the sex and the quote unquote dating, which was really molesting. And so those are some of the cultural changes that need to happen. One of the things that these 120 athletes, the 120 Olympians that we have that are signing on to the Sports Act are these structural changes within the Sports Act. So in the United States, our Olympics movement is governed by a statute, and then that one's called the Ted Stevens Olympic and Amateur Sports Act. So we refer to it as the Sports Act. And the statute sort of sets out how much power Olympians have, right? How much power the athletes have. In professional sports, they have 50-50 power with management. Okay, so they have labor union rights, they have labor law, they have elected representatives, they have people to inculcate them into the values and whatnot of what it means to be a worker, what it means to be a player, what it means, how your interests are the same with management. Like you both want the enterprise to really thrive, but different in that, who gets that next dollar? How do you spend that dollar? Right? So that athletes have an equal say in the management of how the enterprise runs.
Excellent.
So that's professional athletes. How the Sports Act is structured now, and how we're trying to get it to be different from how it is now. So how it's structured now is the professional athletes have labor union rights. NCAA athletes have zero rights. They have no voting power. They have nothing. But then Olympic athletes were supposed to have 20% of all boards and committees. Scott Blackman, the former head of the USOC, was a really nefarious guy, and he took away those athletes' rights through a number of mechanisms. But he made it essentially so that, he would listen to what the athletes had to say, but they had no power to be able to enforce anything. He would let the NGBs choose who was what athlete was on the board, rather than having the athletes who were elected by what's called the Athletes Advisory Council, the AAC, to let them choose who was on the board. So rather than having this 20%, and, athletes in the Olympic movement needs to have 50%. And you might say, well, that's weird that to prevent sexual abuse, that you're trying to give athletes more power in the say of the movement. And I say yes, because it's hard to separate out power from money. And if the executives are paying themselves mid six figures, if the head of the Olympic Committee is making, $1.2 million, and the heads of national governing bodies are making $1 million, then and the athletes are making $1,000 a month. I talked to Allie Reisman's mother, who said for most of her career she made $1,000 a month. So it's hard to separate out those two. If they're so dependent and have to be so subservient and compliant and obedient in order to be able to make the Olympic team, then they're going to be set up to be abused in lots of ways. Not just financial abuse and not just sexual abuse, but all kinds of abuse. And moreover, there's no break on retaliation. And so an athlete can get retaliated against, and there's really nothing that the athlete can do about retaliation. So we're trying to get changes to the Sports Act to give the athletes more power. If they can speak up and not have to worry about retaliation, then they're going to be much more able to speak truth to power. Any Olympians or any social justice warriors out there who are listening, please contact Champion Women at ichampionwomen@gmail.com and please sign on to our petition. We have lots of Olympians. We have people who are interested who are part of the sexual abuse prevention networks, leaders of different organizations, as well as people that used to be on the board of the USOC and used to be coaches or are coaches of Olympic sports.
Nancy, you're educated, experienced. The work that you do is remarkable. I can tell you that I'm a fan, and I'm so proud of who you are, who you've become, who you are becoming, and the work that you do. And I really want to give you a heartfelt thank you for being on our show and sharing yourself with us today. Thank you.
Shannon, coming from you, I have so much admiration and respect for you. I mean, those of us who are, really trying to make it better for the next generation of female athletes, I think, we all know what a spine that takes. And so coming from you, that means a lot to me. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you, and you're welcome. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
Follow and comment on social media. Twitter is @Wisp Sports. My Twitter is @Miller12Shannon. My Facebook and Instagram is @Coach Shannon Miller. My website is coachshannonmiller.com. Check out the drill of the week that I post on Thursdays. And you can find links in the show notes for this episode at wispsports.com and find more coverage of women's sport. Thanks for supporting women in sport everywhere.